This presentation is taken from the Gayatri Pariwar's project Mother's Workshop Study, and the founder of the Gayatri Pariwar is Gurudev Pandit Shriram Sharma Acharya ji. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking some incredibly profound insights from this study, diving deep into child psychology to figure out how we can truly guide the children in our lives.
So, you know when a child acts out, right? Our very first instinct is almost always to jump in and correct that surface behavior. But today, we're asking a deeper question. Are bad habits in children just harmless mischief, or are they actually a glaring sign of a much deeper mental tangle?
Here's a huge shift in perspective for you. Bad habits, they do not just magically appear because a child repeats them. No, they actually sprout from mental tangles and distorted emotions. Let's look at stealing, for instance. It isn't inherently malicious. It's actually deeply rooted in emotional knots and suppressed instincts. Crazy, right?
Psychoanalysts have absolutely nailed this down. They've discovered that these habits are formed on the basis of emotion, not just random practice. So if you want to break a habit, like stealing, you literally have to decode the child's mental tangles and fulfill their natural desires. The moment we approach a kid with real, deep empathy, you'll see those destructive habits just naturally start to fade away.
To put it simply, the habit of stealing is often just a direct consequence of suppressing basic, natural instincts. It's like a pressure cooker. When a child's natural desires are blocked, their mind creates this massive emotional tangle, and stealing becomes a subconscious outlet for all that pent-up energy. So, resolving that inner emotional conflict is quite literally the only way to fix the outward behavioral problem.
Okay, so that totally makes sense for stealing. It's driven by unfulfilled desires. But what about other things? How exactly do kids pick up the habit of smoking? Or where does that awful tendency to tease and bully others come from? Well, kids are basically little sponges. They absorb the behaviors of the adults around them through imitation. But here's a truly fascinating fact about teasing. When we give neglected kids a real platform to express themselves, it cures their jealousy. It literally stops the teasing in its tracks, shifting their energy from tearing others down to building themselves up. It's honestly pretty straightforward. If a bad example, like smoking, isn't paraded in front of a child, they aren't going to pick up that habit. And as for the teasing, when kids feel neglected but see others getting all the praise, jealousy totally takes root. But by simply giving them proper opportunities for self-expression, you validate their worth. And just like that, the bad habit vanishes. So much of this boils down to our environment. Uneducated parenting or just setting a poor example leads straight to these issues. Whether a kid picks up smoking because they're trying to mirror an adult, or they bully someone because they are absolutely starved for attention, the root cause is always external. They're just lacking positive outlets.
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, a super widely accepted, yet deeply flawed parenting strategy. Yep, punishment. We have to ask ourselves, does scolding actually stop a kid from lying, or does it just make the whole situation so much worse?
The reality is going to surprise a lot of people. Fear of punishment actually teaches a child how to lie. When a kid is absolutely terrified of the consequences, their basic survival instinct kicks in, and a lie just becomes a handy shield. True, lasting change, that only comes from empathy.
Because some kids learn to lie strictly out of fear. Punishing them to break the habit is incredibly harmful. It just reinforces the cycle. In a harsh, unforgiving environment, a child relies on lies just for basic self-protection. But when they're met with a graceful, attentive listener who isn't going to scream at them, that desperate need to lie simply evaporates.
So we're looking at two totally diverging paths here. On one hand, punishment shuts a child down, spikes their anxiety, and ironically, increases how much they lie. But empathy creates this amazing safe haven where a child feels secure, which encourages healthy expression and builds a rock-solid foundation of trust. You know, a lot of the time, we parents unknowingly teach our kids to lie by setting bad examples at home. Like, have you ever asked your kid to tell a visitor you aren't home? Or maybe we instill this unnecessary terror or tiny, trivial mistakes. Mental or physical punishment just builds a massive brick wall between you and the truth.
All right, so if punishment is off the table and scolding just makes everything worse, what's the actual game plan? Instead of just giving them empty, boring lectures, how can we practically guide the kids in our care toward living truthfully?
The solution here is twofold. First up, parents absolutely must embody the truth themselves. You gotta walk the talk. But secondly, and I absolutely love this,
fictional stories. Even though stories are technically untrue or made up, they act as incredibly powerful tools to embed deep, lasting moral truths right into a developing mind.
Think about it. If you lie constantly, but then turn around and preach to your kids about honesty, it totally backfires. It has the exact opposite effect. But storytelling is this magical exception. Truth is heavily packed inside the fun, false veil of a story. Trying to separate a kid from these stories will actually hinder their natural development. They are essential cognitive tools for teaching right from wrong.
Stripping away a child's imaginative world of fiction literally stunts their psychological growth. But when you combine the practical, real-world examples set by adults with the rich, moral landscapes of a good story, you are giving that child every single tool they need to successfully navigate the truth.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to once again honor the incredible source of this wisdom. This presentation is taken from the Gayatri Pariwar's project, Mother's Workshop Study, and the founder of the Gayatri Pariwar is Gurudev Pandit Shriram Sharma Acharya ji. Let's quickly recap the biggest takeaways.
Number 1. Emotion and understanding over everything else. We have to address the root cause, those messy mental tangles and unfulfilled desires. It is infinitely more effective than just scolding surface-level habits. Always remember, understanding heals, while scolding only hides. Number 2, model ideal behavior. If we want honest, secure kids, we've got to be honest and secure ourselves. We literally have to trade harsh punishments for a safe, welcoming space where kids feel totally encouraged to express their true feelings.
Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question for you to chew on. Will you resolve to untangle the minds of the children in your life with deep empathy, starting today, rather than resorting to the easy, damaging path of punishment? It definitely takes patience, but it is the only true way to guide them. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, lead with truth and lead with empathy.